you know this life is one that is full of both darkness and light. And we all have this sense, this understanding, this intuition that we're spiritual beings and that we're not actually human and that we're in human bodies. And we all have this feeling. Even as children, we feel like we're not at home in the flesh of this body. Even as children, we look around in confusion at the world that we find ourselves in and have this everlasting sense, this sense of connection with source, a connection with something that is far greater than we are. And nobody on this earth is without this feeling. We all have this feeling that we're not alone, that we've been here forever, that, there's this sense of separation from the body that we have. Even now, in this moment, I feel like I'm inside of this body. I don't feel like I am this body. I don't feel like I am Joshua Crampton. I feel like I'm in this human body. There's this disassociation with the ownership and the identity of this body. And maybe that's just me, and maybe this is enlightenment, and maybe as all of you wake up and learn more about the truth of who you are, you'll also feel these same ways. For me, I don't feel at home in the human body. I don't feel at home on earth, and I don't like being here. I don't like being in the human body. I don't like being a human, and I don't like earth. I have not enjoyed this journey. I don't like this journey, and I would never repeat this journey again. I don't know where you guys all stand on your journey as a human, if you remember past human lives or if this is the only life that you do remember. I do know that we have had past lives. I don't actually remember any of mine. I've never done any past life work on my past lives, but I am aware that I've lived past lives. And there's a slight connection with those past lives. Even though I don't remember them, I can still have a sense that I've been here before and I've done this before. And I also have a sense that I don't like it. I don't like being human. I don't like being on this earth. I don't like partaking in this game that we play here, where we just wake up in a human body in some family on this earth at some year, and we're like, great, we're human again. And the way that I make use of this life, the way that I make use of myself, the way that I compensate for my disassociation and dislike for this life is by finding things that I can do that are constructive and helpful to other men. By being a light on the way is what I have found that gives me peace and happiness. Now, in my search for wisdom, in my search for enlightenment, in my search for truth, in my search for love, in my search for happiness, I've learned through all these knowledges and these books and the studies what truths are real for me. Part of the discoveries that you're going to make on your journey is discovering which truths are true for you. And not all the truths are the same for each person. But there is an unfolding that's happening from the time that we're born and we gain consciousness and we look down and we see that we have hands and we see that we have feet and we see that we have a penis or a vagina and we see that we're in a human body and we're little boys and we're little girls, and then we gain consciousness as teenagers, and then we gain more consciousness as when we get to our 20s, and then we gain more consciousness when we get to our 30s, and then when we start getting to our 40s, we start actually looking back, right, at the consciousness, the levels of consciousness we had, and we always see that there's something that we're missing. We always see that in the stage that we're in now, there's something that we're missing. And we won't see that thing that we're missing until we get to the next cycle, till we get to be 39 or till we get to be 40. Because so you don't always see the truth of what's happening to you and for you in the phase that you're going through. It's typically after high school that you look back and realize all the mistakes that you made in high school and all the things that you wish you did different. I was raised by my grandparents, and in high school, I was a very angry young man, and I was breaking the law and selling drugs and breaking in the cars and running with black guys and running with thugs out in Houston, where I was living as a teenager in the suburbs of Houston. My best friend was black. His name was Johnny, and I ran with the football team, and we were all thugs. When you graduate from high school, you look back and I'm like, wow, I wish that I would have realized what my grandparents did for me by adopting me. Oh, I wish that I had not started smoking cigarettes in high school. Oh, I wish that I would have spent more time with my grandfather playing football and practicing than out getting high and smoking drugs and being an angry young man, right? So it's after the cycle is over that we look back and can see all the things that we didn't see while we were going through the cycle. High school for all of us was a cycle, right? Whether you're homeschooled or not, but it is a cycle. And when a cycle ends, that's why they call hindsight 2020, because you can always look back on a cycle and see front, back, top, bottom, right? But when you're going through a cycle, you can't really see it. It's almost like when you're in a relationship where there's been a lot of trauma that's been triggered. You can't see what's really happening in that relationship until way down the road after you leave the relationship. And the trauma has dissipated, you can look back and realize what was actually happening in the relationship. I've literally ended relationships for things that I thought were going on that were never going on because I was seeing patterns from my past relationships manifest in the current relationship, and I interpreted those things as the girl doing something that she shouldn't be doing, like being dishonest with me or something. I've literally broken up with women because I thought they were lying to me when they weren't. So when you're in something, it's so hard to see outside of it because you're immersed, right? You're immersed in that thing, right? And so it's like after a cycle. So, when you go through your 20s and then you turn 35 and 36 and 37, you can look back on your 20s. And you can see all the things that you weren't seeing then. All of the selfishness, all of the things that when you were 20 to 21 to 22 to 24 to 25, all the things that you didn't realize in your 20s, you realize in your 30s. And all the things that you missed out on in your 30s because you didn't have the wisdom to see them, you realize them in your 40s. And that's why as you get older, you gain more appreciation. As you go from 30 to 40 to 50, something happens in a human where you gain more appreciation for what's around you because you can see more, right? When you're a teenager, there's very little life experience to give you appreciation. But when you're 40, 50, 60 years old, you can look back and see all the areas where you were selfish, all the areas where you should have been more grateful, all the areas where you should have been slower, right? So hindsight is 2020. And it's a shame that we can't actively remember our past lives, because if we could access the memories of our past lives, we could be able to gain all of the wisdom and insight and knowledge from those past lives, just like we were looking back on our high school years, just like we were looking back on our 20s. And I think that wisdom and gaining these understandings is what this journey is all about. Because, we come here, we're like, okay, well, I'm a human, so I'm supposed to get attracted to a female. I'm then supposed to breed with her, marry her. There's these sociological pressures of what's right and what's normal in our society, in which in our society, we have the nuclear family. So you're born into society, you begin learning about the society, you begin learning about becoming a human, then you start learning about the rules and the way that things are supposed to go according to our society. And we're like, okay, well, as a human race, the nuclear family seems to be the proven method to pass on knowledge, wisdom, family hierarchies, wealth, right? So you're like, okay, well, I need to find a woman. I need to get married. I need to have children. I need to proceed with the plan, right? Because you're born into this earth as a human, and you start learning the plan. Like, okay, well, you got to get married, you got to have kids, you got to build wealth, you got to build retirement, you got to, partake in your community, you've got to vote, you got to, right? You got to become a positive, if you would, a productive and useful member of society. And then you're looking through all of this and you're like, but why? I don't want anything to do with this fucking society. Why am I even here? And I think that it's when you get so disassociated with this human life to where you get uncomfortable being here, to where you could actually look and say and see, oh, that's my role. That's what I'm supposed to be doing. Now I know why I'm here. And it's like, once you discover that, once you discover what you're here for, once you discover why you're here, it's like all the answers come together. It's like when you discover that you're here to be a light, to shine a light on the pathway of righteousness for other men. You're here to show the light on the path. You're here to be an educator. You're here to write books. You're here to teach men the knowledge that you know. And so it's like we move through this life always working to discover what it is that we're here for. And it's like always this reflective journey. It's like this reflective journey of why am I here? Who am I? What are my purposes? What is there to live for? What is meaningful? What is real? What is reasonable? What is honest? What is right? And you begin deciphering all of these truths, right? And I think that's what this journey is all about, is us discovering day after day after day more truths.